Welcome to Emporia State, here in Emporia, Kansas, the heartland of the Midwest. Here at the university, we have over 200 majors and programs in schools such as Liberal Arts and Science School, Business School, and the Teachers College. I know that there are so many ways that you can thrive on this campus, so let's come check it out. Beach Music Hall holds many of the classes for the Department of Music, as well as the Heath Recital Hall. Here we are at Roosevelt Hall. Welcome to King Hall, where students are taught by exhibiting artists, respected art historians, and art educators in a variety of mediums here in the studio. Here we are at Schellenkamp Hall, one of the campus's newer dormitories. It's nice. Emporia State's Department of Health, Physical Education, and Recreation is housed right here in what is known around campus as the Hyper Building. The Butcher Education Center houses the Early Childhood Development Center, as well as the sociology classes and anthropology department. Here we are at Visser Hall, where many of the classes to train teachers are held. students can come get fit on campus right here at the Student Recreation and Fitness Center, or what we call the Rec Center. Here we are at Plum Hall, which holds financial aid, registration, and account services. And of course, inside is Albert Taylor Hall, where we hold many awesome performances throughout the year. Check out the William Allen White Library, where students can study 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Here we are at Cram Science Hall that houses all of our physical science classes. Come get your science on! Here we are at the Memorial Union, the main hub for student activity. If you're looking for something to do, definitely come here. Wooster Lake is one of the many peaceful spots on campus where students can come to enjoy the view, do their homework, and even host a function. Plus, there's ducks. The Towers dormitories are one of the many beautiful dorms here on ESU's campus. Here we are at Kramer Hall, home to ESU's internationally accredited School of Business, as well as the IT Help Desk. Here we are at Abigail Morris Hall. Here in Emporia, the community really shows up for our ESU sports. Not just football, but for every athlete here on campus.
3, 2, 1. Here we go!
Well, that's the end of the tour. Thanks for watching, but you definitely need to come check it out yourself. See you around.
Hello and welcome parents, families, guests, and friends. Thank you for joining us tonight at our Straight to the Point webinar series, where we're going to talk tonight about tuition bills, paying tuition bills, making sure that you are ready to go in paying for your tuition bill. So we have some great friends joining us across campus. I'm going to bring up Emily Elbert, who is one of our admissions counselors, to help frame out what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yes, so welcome guys. Thank you for joining us here today. So we are going to talk about tuition billing, just like Lydia said, financial aid, scholarships, and residential life updates. So we have a few people we'd like to introduce here before we get started. So if those people want to join us on screen here, we have Darcy from financial aid. We have Nicole from business and cashiering, and then we also have Cass from residential life. So thank you guys for joining us here today. We are going to get started by pulling Lydia back on screen. She's going to talk to us a little bit about tuition billing. So Lydia, what is the tuition bill? What does it include? And how do we pay our tuition bill?
Yeah, great question, Emily. So that's the hot topic right now, and especially with parents paying for student schooling is, how do I pay this tuition? What is that going to look like and such? So we're at that time of year that tuition bills have gone out. And so as of last Friday, tuition bills have begun to go out to your students. Your student needs to be checking their ESU student email for information for their electronic bill. That is coming to their ESU student email account. So if they're not checking that, they need to start doing so in order to see that tuition bill. They will be able to access their bill by using their student account center, which is located on Hornet 365. Hornet 365, think of that as the hub of all kinds of different student information they're going to use this year. And so getting access to their student account setting and getting familiar with that center on Hornet 365 is going to be super important. Tuition billing and fees are in one collective bill for your students' attendance. So if they have housing, on-campus room and board, activity fees, new enrollment fees, and then any scholarships or financial aid are going to be included in that tuition billing statement as well. Now, how to pay. Tuition and fees can be paid in a few ways. To make payments towards their bill, students must go to the Student Account Center located in Hornet 365. Students and authorized users can make payments, view the bill online, and set up direct deposits. So you may have caught that word of authorized user and may be thinking, how do I become an authorized user? So your student has to designate you as an authorized user on their student account in the Student Account Center in Hornet 365. So once they designate access to you, then you as the parent, guardian, guest, or friend, whoever would like financial records of their students or maybe able to make payments can do so once that student designates you access in their Student Account Center through Hornet 365. Now, just so you know, parents, that is only for financial records of your student, not for their academic records. That's a whole nother conversation you can have with your student. Students can set up a payment plan through the Student Account Center as well. A student will be charged a $50 administrative fee if their bill is not paid in full, or if their account balance is greater than $100 by the end of the first week of classes. So if you're wanting to pay out your student's bill in maybe more manageable chunks, you need to be able to set up a payment plan by the first week of classes. Payments can be made on the Student Account Center in Hornet 365, through the Cashiering Center on campus in Plum Hall, or by mail addressed to Emporia State University. If you're paying by mail, please be sure to include your student's e-number and their name on the check so we can just verify and make sure that it's going to that right student's account. So tonight we have an awesome web page to help you figure out how to pay that bill and remember all this information or use some incredible links. So if you go to emporia.link/parent webinar that's showing there on the screen, you can check out information on tuition costs, frequently asked questions, and refund collections by checking out that link below. So thanks for joining us. If you have more questions or concerns regarding your student's tuition bill, please be sure to contact Cashiering Services, and their contact info is on that landing page that I shared above. Emily, back to you.
Awesome. So yeah, just like Lydia said, that link that keeps popping up, that link is kind of like a landing page that is encompassing everything that we're talking about today. So you're going to find all the contact info that you need to contact that direct department about questions you may have, as well as just how to pay your tuition bill, how to understand financial aid. So basically everything we're talking about today, but it's going to be a visual component. So you're going to be able to see those words on the screen. I'm going to bring... Oh, go ahead.
I want to remind our parents that we do have a question and answer period tonight, where if they have any live questions, feel free to drop those in the chat and we can answer those while we're on the air.
Yeah, feel free to utilize that. We're going to bring Nicole on here because she's got a couple of deadlines and updates for you as well from the business side of things.
Thank you. Actually, Lydia did a really good job of going through most of those main points. I just want to reiterate that payments are due by the 5th day of class, which is going to be August 26th. Any account that has, a balance of greater than $100 will be assessed a $50 fee. And you won't be dropped from your classes. Your student won't be dropped from their classes. But you will want to, if you don't think you're going to be able to get the balance paid before the next time that we would apply late fees again, which would be September 20th, you would want to set up a payment plan. Payment plans can be set up through the Student Account Center, and the fee is only that one-time $50 fee. As long as all future payments are made on time, you won't get charged anything other than that first $50 fee. Let me see what else. We're located in Plum Hall, first floor, Cashiering Services. We can take check and cash at the counter. If you want to come in, or if your student wants to come and pay with a debit card or a credit card, you'll need to do that through the Student Account Center. We cannot take cards in person. web checks, debit card, or excuse me, your web checks through your bank account, those will not incur fees. But if you use a credit card to pay for fees, you will be charged a 2.85% convenience fee, and that's just a fee that's passed on. It's required for us, but just be sure that you're aware of that. If you want to avoid fees, you can do web check and put in your banking information, and you won't have to deal with that. I think Lydia pretty well covered everything else. I'm available here for the end of the webinar if you have any specific questions or other questions about how to pay your student's bill.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. And thank you, Lydia. So yeah, if you have any additional questions about tuition billing at any point during the webinar, feel free to use that live chat option. We're keeping a close eye on that. So I'm going to bring Darcy on here. Darcy, would you like to tell us how to understand financial aid and how to pay with financial aid?
Sure, Emily, thank you. I am the student loan coordinator here in the financial aid office, and I just kind of want to talk to y'all tonight about some of the frequently asked questions that we're hearing, especially this time of year, give you some brief information to help you understand that financial aid offer and how to use your financial aid to pay the bill. So one of the more important things is if your student has not completed their FAFSA for 2022-2023 aid year, it is not too late. They can go to FAFSA.gov to get started, and it will require the 2020 tax and income information. So you'll want to have that available to you. Once the FAFSA is submitted and sent to our office, it is used to determine the student's eligibility for federal student aid, and that can be grants, federal loans through the government, and federal work study. So once we get their FAFSA and process it, we're going to create a financial aid offer that has all of those types of aid that they are eligible for based upon the information that came in on the FAFSA. And they can see that financial aid offer in Hornet 365. We're also listed under the Financial Center, but we're just in the financial aid side. So they can go to My Financial Aid and they'll be able to see that financial aid offer once it's been created. One thing to note, you might have caught that I said you need to use 2020 tax and income information for this year's FAFSA. If your household has had a loss or reduction in income since 2020, reach out to our office and ask about a professional judgment. This allows our director to review your family's financial situation on an individual case-by-case basis, see if she can make updates to that FAFSA information that will more accurately reflect the family's current financial situation. So if you have any questions about that, just call our office, say, I have questions about professional judgment, and we'll walk you through what that looks like and answer those questions to see if you might qualify. So when you go out to Hornet 365 and your students are looking at the financial aid offer, you'll see that grants and scholarships are already automatically accepted on their behalf because we're pretty sure that nobody's going to say no to free money. Now, Emily is going to talk more about the presidential and transfer scholarships in a minute, but I want to let you know that if there are other ESU scholarships that your student has been awarded, they need to accept those in the scholarship portal and write a thank you note if it's required before that's going to show up on their financial aid offer. So if the School of Business has told your student that they are giving them a scholarship, but you don't see it on the financial aid offer yet, the student needs to go check the scholarship portal, see if they need to accept it, and write that thank you note. And then once it will, they've done that, then it will flow over and be added to their financial aid offer. So just make sure that they're checking the scholarship portal regularly for any actions that they need to take. Now, the loans that are listed on the financial aid offer, if the student wants to borrow those, they need to go on to Hornet 365 and actually accept those themselves. And that is because those loans have to be paid back in the future. So the student has to acknowledge, yes, I want to borrow this money. Yes, I'm aware I have to pay it back. If this is the first time that the student is borrowing these Stafford loans through the federal government, they are going to be required to complete entrance counseling and a master promissory note at studentaid.gov, and the portal will alert them of that. Remember, I know a lot of people get confused about the types of scholarships, the subsidized and the unsubsidized. The subsidized is the one that the government covers the interest while the student is in school. So always utilize the subsidized eligibility first, and then if you still need additional funding, turn to the unsubsidized. There are not payments required on either of those loans while the student is in school, but interest will grow on the unsubsidized loan while they are in school from the point that we send that money over to cashiers. The interest rate on both of those loan types that are taken this year is 4.99%. So the aid that I've talked about up to this point is generally offered to the student for the entire year, and they will get half of that in the fall, so in August, and then the other half will be dispersed out or paid out to them in January for the spring semester. And we cannot start releasing aid to cashiers until 10 days before classes start. That's the absolute earliest. So for the fall semester, August 12th is when you're going to start seeing that financial aid start being applied towards the charges. There are some annual limits on each type of aid from the federal government. And so the student may need additional funds to help cover the rest of the bill. And so if they don't have enough financial aid to cover all of their charges, they can set up a payment plan with cashiers, or they could look at one of the alternative loan types. That could be a Parent Plus loan that would be borrowed in a biological, adoptive, or current step parent's name. That Parent Plus loan would remain in the parent's name until it's paid off. Or a private student loan through a private lender that can be borrowed in the student's name, may need a parent cosigner, the private student loans don't have to be a parent cosigner. So anyone who's willing to cosign on that loan would be able to. The Parent Plus loan and the private loans generally have a higher interest rate. So I do recommend utilizing the subsidized and unsubsidized loan eligibility first before looking at one of those alternative loan types. Now, if your student has federal work study listed on their financial aid offer, it's going to work a little bit differently than the other types of aid that I've talked about so far. Federal work study does not pay out in a lump sum, so they will need to go through Handshake to apply for on-campus jobs. If they're hired in one of those positions, then they are going to get paid for the hours that they work, just like any other job that they'd have. So the federal work study will be listed on their financial aid offer, but they're going to get it in the form of a paycheck, not in a lump sum payment that's applied towards their bill. Now, if they want to use those federal work study paychecks to pay their charges, they could set up that payment plan with cashiers, and then once they get paid, turn around and make those payments through the Student Account Center. So I know that was a lot of information that I just shared with you, but there's 4 more things that I want to touch on briefly. So our office, the financial aid office, does not do billing. When you see the student's financial aid offer, you're going to see something called the cost of attendance. That is not what the student owes to Emporia State. It's not the bill, not the charges. It simply represents the maximum amount of financial aid that they could get for this school year, to help cover direct costs like tuition and fees and room and board, and indirect costs such as transportation and miscellaneous personal expenses. If they have outside scholarships that they're getting through a local community organization or their high school, contact those organizations and see if they need the student to provide proof of enrollment before they send the checks to us. If they've sent the check to you, to the student, that can be mailed on to our office and we'll get it processed and over to cashiers, or the organization can mail it directly to us. If the check is made out to the student or to the student and Emporia State, the student is going to need to endorse that check before it can be processed. So the cashier's office may be calling them to say, we need you to stop by the cashier's window when you're on campus to endorse that scholarship check. And we process those whenever we get them. Sometimes they don't show up till September. When we get them, we'll get them processed. If a student has outstanding financial aid requirements, this can hold up them getting that financial aid offer created for them, or from their financial aid paying out to cashiers to be applied towards their bill. So again, through My Financial Aid on Hornet 365, they can see what those outstanding requirements are. There's a great video out there that will walk them through how to view and use that the financial aid piece of the Hornet 365 portal. So I do recommend that they check out that video. And most importantly, due to the Family Educational Rights Privacy Act, we cannot talk to you about your student's financial aid unless they have granted you proxy access. Proxy access is completely separate from the authorized user that Lydia and Nicole talked about earlier. So the proxy access will just be for the financial aid. And so if your student wants you to have access to specific information about their financial aid offer, the FAFSA information, they need to go out to Hornet 365, find the proxy access block, and go through all of the steps to set you up as proxy. They can also reach out to us for instructions on how to set that up. On that parent landing page, that's the links that's been scrolling across the bottom, there is a link to our website. All of our contact information is there, so feel free to reach out to us. On our website, there's also a link to set up virtual appointments. So if you'd like to book an appointment with us to meet via video visit, we're happy to work with you in that way as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darcy. We did have a question or two here. So I have a question that says, if a student receives an outside scholarship that will pay directly to them, do they have to report it?
We do need that to be reported, and they can report that as an outside resource through the financial aid portal of Hornet 365, just because we do need to be aware of all of those scholarship resources that they're receiving, because that does impact the other financial aid that they're eligible for.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is admission scholarships. So this is going to address the second question in the chat. So first things first, we are out of the point in the summer where your student's probably getting ready to come to college. One of the most important things that we need right now is official transcripts. So an official transcript comes directly from the school. The student does not see it. You can either send it through Parchment or you can send it to transcript@emporia.edu. So we're going to need those high school official transcripts as well as the college transcripts. So if they took any dual credits while they were in high school, we'll need transcripts for those as well. Reason being, once we have those official transcripts, those scholarships that your students may or may not have been awarded so far will actually be officially awarded once we have those official transcripts. So when the school starts, it'll be applied to their tuition bill. So a couple of those scholarships that you may have seen or your student may have seen is a presidential scholarship and a GPA only scholarship. So in the chat, we had someone ask about the presidential scholarship. So the scholarships, the GPA and the presidential that we offer through the undergrad admissions office are based on a GPA and an ACT score. Now, these are scholarships that students do not apply for. They are automatically given based on those scores. So our presidential starts at a 3.0 or higher GPA, and then our sorry, and also includes a 21 or higher on your ACT. So 3.0 or higher GPA and a 21 or higher on the ACT. This scholarship is renewable for 4 years as long as your student is keeping above a 3.0 GPA each year. So that total amount for the year will be split between the fall and spring semester, kind of like Darcy said with financial aid. And then we also have a GPA only scholarship. So for those of your students that did not take the ACT or maybe didn't do as well as they hoped, we have a GPA only scholarship starting at a 3.0 GPA. So they're going to get a certain amount one time. It's going to be for their freshman year. We kind of give them a little boost to get them started, and that amount will be split between the fall and spring semester as well. So again, your students do not have to apply for those scholarships. Those are scholarships that the undergraduate admissions office gives out based on their GPA and their ACT scores. The last thing I'd like to mention, Darcy did mention it earlier as well, is handshakes. So if your student does not qualify for work study or does not choose to use the work study, they can still work on campus. So even in the admissions office, we need student workers all the time. So they can work up to 20 hours per week. And the benefit of working on campus is that they can actually work between their classes. So whereas a job, if you got it off campus, you'd probably have to work 6 or 8 hour shifts at one time. So no breaks. Whereas working on campus, we really work with our students to be able to work between their classes. So say your student has a couple classes throughout the day, they're going to work a couple hours at their job, and then they're going to go attend class, maybe work another couple of hours. That way they're not having to skip class and they're not having to skip work or vice versa. So definitely a great thing for your students to look into. There's lots of different opportunities, like I said, in the admissions office. We also have a Starbucks here in the Union. And when I introduce Cass here momentarily, they actually have jobs in the residence halls as well. So Cass, if you would like to come up on screen, we are going to have Cass talk about some residential life updates.
Hi there. Good evening, everybody. And I'll start with the joke that usually comes right after. If you've been one of our Hornet Connections, we've reached the halfway point of the webinar. No, we are well past the halfway point. And I will start with just a reiteration that encourage all students out there to continue to check their Emporia State email. I know Residential Life, we will for sure be communicating with you at least once in the coming weeks, since we are less than a week from new student move-in, or less than a month from new student move-in at this point. So just a few key things to keep in mind in addition to that. So check your email. We also will be sending out our move-in packet yet this week. So most, if not all of you, will receive that sometime early next week. I'll have a welcome letter, and I'll have some really helpful guidelines on what to bring. It'll give you our full list of things to bring with you and things to leave at home. Air fryers, leave those at home. Pillows and blankets, bring those with you, and everything in between. So please look for that email communication coming from us in the next week or so, and the snail mail, the piece that will come to your mailbox within the next week. So a few things that you need to know and be thinking about between now and then. Some of you maybe already submitted a bunking lofting request. If you're watching this and you're wondering what's a bunking lofting request, our beds in the residence halls can be bunked. So if you're in a double room, you can request that your beds are bunked. Both roommates have to agree to that. You can submit those requests through the Res Life portal, and you click on a little tab that says bunking lofting request. If you want your bed lofted, one bed in each room can be lofted. It means that you'll be sleeping about 6 feet up off the floor. Some students are very comfortable with that. Others get here and are not so comfortable. So if you're thinking about lofting your bed, just think about how comfortable you might be sleeping 6 feet off the floor. Those are due. That form will close on July 28th. So just a little over a week from now, that form will close. We close that so that we can make sure that we get all those requests met before students start arriving, which is an excellent segue to my final topic, or my final main topic in terms of arrival dates and times. So we'll work kind of backwards on this. Returning residents will return on Saturday and Sunday, August 20th and 21st. All of our new students, so new freshmen, new transfer students, can arrive on Thursday, August 18th. All residents can go into the Res Life portal and sign up for a move-in date and time. That should be available beginning early next week. We will send that out in the email communication we send when that is live and ready to go, so that you can pick a time that works for you and your family. Let's see what else we got here. Some of you will be arriving early. So football, soccer, volleyball, marching band, a few other special student groups, our bridge program. So the coordinator for your program, your coach, your advisor, your teacher, your faculty member will give you specifics on when and where and how you will arrive on your early arrival date. So everything you get from us, from Residential Life, will say that the move-in dates are the 18th, 20th, and 21st. If you are part of one of those special early arrival groups, your coach or advisor will let you know your date and time and where to get your key and all that other good stuff. So if you have a special circumstance where you need to arrive early, you can go into the Res Life portal and submit a request for an early arrival. We will review that, and if it's approved, we'll confirm that and let you know what your date and time and how you can arrive. If that request is not approved, we will let you know that as well. Common examples of reasons why students would arrive early: student teachers. We have a number of student teachers who need to arrive early because their school district starts early. So that is a common reason why students request an early arrival. Another is if students live on campus. So Emily was just talking about Handshake and on-campus student employment. Some of our student employees on campus need to arrive early for training or setup, or to get different buildings on campus ready for the fall semester. So those are the key things that we, one last thing. If you're bringing a car and you want to park your vehicle on campus in one of our green permit, those permits are available August 10th at 8 a.m. And we will have information in the electronic communication we sent to you about how you can request an on-campus parking pass if you're going to be living in residence halls and want green permit parking. So that's August 10th at 8 a.m. Those will be available. And I am all finished on my end. Emily, do we have any questions come in?
Yes, we did have a few.
Okay.
So I know the answer to this, but since you're Res Life, are there any pictures online of the dorm rooms? We only got to see one room on our tour.
Oh, we do. And we actually have videos of each of our halls now. So Schallenkamp, North and South Tower, Singular and Tressler, and Abigail. And we highlight, so the videos have video and photos of the rooms. We also give you an overview of some of the features in each of the buildings. So those are an excellent resource.
Just go to our ESU webpage, and if you go to the Residential Life tab, you'll be able to tour virtually all of the residence halls. Next question. What is the policy on emotional support animals?
ESA. So if a resident is wanting to have an ESA in the residence halls, they will work with our SAS department. So Student Accessibility Support Services. And SAS will review the information that students provide to them. There is, once SAS approves it, there are a few checklist items that we want the students. So for example, if the ESA is a dog or a cat, there are certain vaccines that the animal needs to have to be in the residence halls. And there's just some general expectations about caring for the animal and keeping the room suitable for the resident, the animal, and other residents. So yes, ESAs are welcome. That process starts with our SAS department, and then once approved, we will walk the resident through the checklist of expectations.
Okay, we got a few more. For a single room, would there be 2 beds or 1? And if there are 2 beds, can a student request that 1 be removed?
So some of our single rooms are single rooms, so there's just 1 bed. There are some of the rooms. So in Schallenkamp, for example, if a student is assigned to a single room in Schallenkamp, there will be 2 full sets of furniture. In Singular Tressler, there will be 2 sets of furniture, but we are bunking the beds so that there's a little bit more floor space. We do not have space to accommodate requests for extra sets of furniture to be removed, though.
Okay. Is there a limit to the number of parking permits sold each year? I'm assuming maybe a student purchasing a certain amount.
So each resident can have one. There is enough. So in our residence halls, we can accommodate about 940 residents, and we have enough green permit parking spaces to accommodate that number of residents. So
Cool.
if residents are wanting green parking, there are enough spaces for that. The classic thing is just those green parking lots are located around campus, and so sometimes you might need to park a little bit further away than you would like.
With that being said, how much are the green permit parking?
Oh, that's a good question. I do not know the answer to this year. I believe they're either $80 or $90 for the whole year.
Okay. If one bed is lofted, what does the other bed look like?
It'll be set lower to the floor. So if people have been on the tours, it's one of the things we generally talk about, but it'll be about 24 to 30 inches off the floor.
Okay. And last question regarding the emotional support animals. How does that work with the suites and towers?
ESA, so part of the checklist will be talking with roommates about the ESA and expectations. Every once in a while, we have a situation where a resident is approved for an ESA and the roommate is allergic to that animal. And then we work with the resident and the roommate to identify the best way forward. So there is a roommate expectation for the checklist.
Alrighty, so I think that was the last of them. Thank you so much, Cass. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
So, oh, did he have something to say?
See you in a month.
Yeah, we'll be in class soon. Thank you, Cass. Alrighty, so that concludes our webinar. Oh, we have one more question. When on our dorm tour, you mentioned a mid-loft option. How do we request that? So your student will have been sent an email if they have been assigned a room that will allow them to send in a bunking or a lofting request to Res Life. If you don't see that email, feel free to give them a call to figure that out. Okay, so if we don't have any last minute questions for the chat, I'm just going to remind you that we know that this is a difficult process and this is a ton of information. So if you have questions or concerns, feel free to reach out at any time. Any one of us, myself, Lydia, Cass, or Darcy, or Nicole. Anyone that you can find at ESU should be able to help you in some way because we know this is overwhelming and we understand and we are here for you. I myself was a first-generation college student, so there was a lot of things I didn't know when I came into college. My parents didn't know, so I'm very glad to be able to have something like this for you guys to be able to answer those questions and concerns. We also just want to remind you that the Student Advising Center is available to your student in case they need to make any schedule changes before class starts, or if they just have general questions about their classes. So be sure to contact them if you need that. You can use that link that's been scrolling across the bottom to find their contact info. Our next parent webinar will be August 10th. So that is 3 Wednesdays from now. It's going to be at the same time, 6:30 to 7. Except for this time, our topics are going to be more guided from residential life. So Cass will probably come in again. We're going to talk about move-in and everything about that. And then we're also going to talk about Welcome Week. So we have a Welcome Week for new students and returning students. And we also have a freshman orientation and we have what's called Friday nights. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next time. So how ESU welcomes our students back. So we are very excited for all you guys to be here. And thank you all. And we will see you next time.
Emporia State University has more than 200 academic programs. From accounting to zoology, you'll get the classes and degree that will take you further. Starting day one, you'll dive headfirst into your field with hands-on learning that will get you ready for the career of your dreams. ESU offers all the big school experiences with the benefits of small school attention. Learn more at emporia.edu.